All right, well, thank you, ladies, for joining me today. Let's go around the room and introduce yourselves if we can.
Sure. My name is Jill Boone. I'm from Columbus, Ohio.
And what do you do, Jill?
I am the magistrate and court administrator for a common pleas court.
I'm Kristen Young. I'm the software engineering director at GE.
Okay.
I'm Stephanie Jennings. I'm the head women's golf coach at Eastern Michigan University.
Okay.
I'm Stephanie Pulaski. I'm the director of golf and marketing at Muskegon Country Club.
Okay.
I'm Kelly Plazier, and I am a teaching professional at Thousand Oaks Golf Academy in Grand Rapids.
Perfect. And I'm Heather Stone, and thank you for tuning in. Today we're talking to mentors and moguls, asking a little bit about their tips, asking about their experience as women in the workforce and in the career world, and getting some great insights to what they're actually thinking behind the scenes.
That's dangerous.
That's dangerous. I know, it's dangerous. So I'd love to ask everybody, at what point did you have that aha moment, whether it was in school or after school, your second or third job, where you said, this is what I want to spend my time doing as my career? Anybody want to start?
I think it's when you land in a position where you feel like going to work just feels natural. Mm-hmm. It's not work anymore. You realize that you've landed in a place where you belong. That's the place where it fits.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Go ahead, Jill.
I mean, for me, it's always something that once I started in my position, kind of like you said, it utilizes the skills that I like doing, but also involves people. And I was happy. Like I said, there wasn't a doubt in my mind where I went to work every day. And even on the most stressful of days, the next day I woke up and I was still excited to go in. But I think even really, really recently, it was reaffirmed because I interviewed actually for a different position. And went through this really long, very in-depth interview process. And through that time, it forced me to evaluate what I thought was important. I eventually got offered that job for a lot more money and ended up turning it down because, like I said, it ended up being a very reflective process for me. And since that, I've felt re-energized because it was like, yeah, I'm doing this for a reason. It's not because I have to, it's because I want to do it and this is my place here.
So your reason why you really reevaluated that and said, why am I doing this? Why am I looking for a change? And I've already got it right here in the palm of my hand.
Yes, and it was something where, yes, it was a job opportunity that honestly, like I said, was a lot more money. That was right up my alley within my field. I knew I'd be good at it. I knew I was qualified for it. It made sense. It made sense for me to apply. I'm glad I applied because I owed it to myself to do it. And a lot of people would probably look and say, why didn't you take that? It was closer to home. It was more money. It was, more power, I guess. And it made me put I guess, a value on things that aren't necessarily quantitative.
Right.
So many times we're like, okay, what is it that we're looking for? Is it that my commute's too long? That's a number. Is it that I'm not getting paid enough? That's a number. Mm-hmm. But it's the other things. For me, it was a work-life balance. It was purpose. It was making a difference in a way that I thought was most meaningful. And realizing that just because I might be good at something doesn't mean I have to go do it. And that I felt there was more work to be done where I was. And that's where kind of I belonged. And so it was a very exhausting process. It turned out to be more than an interview process. It was more of a rediscovery, as cheesy as it sounds, internal look at myself and where my values were at that point. So it was a lot.
But you're happy now and you're satisfied.
100%.
Right?
And that was the thing, is like I didn't look back. And it's interesting because we're talking about mentorships. And I had talked to somebody about the position who did something similar in a different organization, and went to her and talked about it. And she kind of put in a good word for me and, worked on my references, worked on a few things interview-wise. And when I turned down the job, I was concerned that I had let her down or that I had burned bridges with people who give me a chance, because I just spent this entire time convincing them that I was their person to hire me. And all of a sudden I'm going to turn around and say, just kidding. And obviously it was a deeper process than that, but I called her and I said, I just want to let you know that I was offered the job, but I turned it down. And she said, are you at peace with your decision? That was her first question. And I was like, yeah. And she said, that's all that matters. And honestly, like, and then I hung up the phone, and a second after I hung up the phone, she texted me and she just said, be at peace. And I love my husband. I love my friends, but there was nothing that I needed to hear in that moment than those words. And I feel like the only person I could have gotten it from was someone who was in it. And we're talking about female mentorship. I think that that is a huge thing that can't be understated, that there is something about that kind of connection with somebody in a position either above you or on your same level, that they relate, they get it, more so even than, you know, your husband, who I share everything with, and he was super supportive about it, but it's just different.
It's different. Well, women have, you know, women and men both are ambitious. They both want to get somewhere. They both want to grow. But I think that men are more solo. This is my experience. They're more solo, and women are more communal. So we really need to bounce ideas. Like, I might ask you for some advice. Maybe I just want to bounce my idea and hear how it sounds. You don't need to fix it for me, but I just want to make sure that someone else is listening and I'm listening to myself. So that's a different approach, I think, that women take than men. I don't know, do you experience the same thing?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Same kind of thing. So did you all have a mentor, and did anybody get to have a female mentor, or did you have any mentors at all in your career so far?
I would say most of my mentors have been male.
Okay.
I think it's the nature of the beast of the industry that I've been in the golf industry. But those mentors that I've had have helped me get to where I am today. One of them being, you know, the men's golf coach at Eastern Michigan University, Bruce Cunningham. But they've all, you know, and even from my father and my brother, who saw this little girl who could do a sport, and they lifted me up. So it's been males in my life who have always encouraged and lifted me up, and didn't, you know, say there's any type of ceiling. Or so I've been very fortunate to have some very, very supportive male mentors in my life.
Great. And how about you? You're in the tech industry, so what's that been like for you?
And up until about 5 years ago, I always had a male mentor, and I finally had a female mentor, and it was very different. We could have a lot of heart-to-heart conversations about what I was really thinking or really feeling, and I didn't have to be guarded anymore about what I thought or what I said. It was a very different experience.
Have anybody else had that experience at all?
I'm similar to Stephanie in being in the golf industry. Most of them have been male and have been very supportive, but we're definitely outnumbered in the golf industry. So it's been nice to, you know, once you find other females either in your state or, you know, you form a really quick bond with them, you know, so it's been really nice.
Men and women are a little bit different when they deal with stress. Or So talk to me a little bit about what's the difference between men and women in stress, and better yet, what do you do? What's your go-to solution or method or practice when you're stressed out at home, at work, you have a big project, you have a big competition, whatever it is, everyone gets stressed out. Can you share what works for you?
I go for a run, get out all my energy, and then I refocus and I come back. And for me, if I have those stressful moments or those anxious moments because I have so much on my plate or overwhelmed by something coming up, it actually works better for me to just work until it's done. Like, just don't take a break. Just keep working, because otherwise I can't fall asleep, and then I wake up thinking about it, and I'm trying to pack my kids' lunches and they're wondering what's going on with me. Well, I'm thinking about what I'm supposed to be doing for this project that I have coming up. So I'll oftentimes just like knock everything out in one day after I go for my run to release all my energy.
I usually go to the gym with some of my neighbors who've become really good friends, and even though there's a lot of activity around, well, you know, if we go to spin class, it's very loud and busy, but I do a lot of good, clear thinking.
Well, this brings me to the question of the mother child, or even if you have someone else you're taking care of in your home and responsibilities, home life, even if you don't have kids, pets, whatever it is. So the work-life balance. I think it's different for men and women, though I know it's changing in certain age groups, it's changing, but the work-life balance, how do you juggle that? Because that's really the source of a lot of stress, is trying to keep everybody happy and all the balls juggling in the air, don't drop one. Has anybody found any magic bullet for work-life balance?
A dry erase board and a Google Calendar.
Oh.
Well, it comes down to communication.
Okay.
I mean, that's a big, especially my husband works, I work, kids are both in elementary, but then there's before school care, after school care.
It's a lot.
You know, one's doing gymnastics, one's doing this warrior class, one's doing tennis. So there's a lot of juggling going on. So Google Calendar, okay, it's out there. We have this dry erase board that, okay, each week we write down, this is what's going on, and just talking constantly, you know. So it's not like, oh, well, you didn't tell me about this. Oh, you didn't tell me about that. So we never want those moments. There happens to be those moments sometimes, but because you just can't keep everything together. But yeah,
and don't you find too, it takes a team, it takes a village.
It takes a village. Yeah, I mean, it's like the grandparents are coming up tomorrow, so.
Yep, that's where my kids are with grandparents right now.
Right.
You know, it does. It takes a village sometimes. I just think that, you know, they appreciate the fact that I work, and whether you work in the home or out of the home, I just think that your kids can look up to whatever you're doing.
I was with a group of women. We were talking about, I'm going to change it up a little bit. We were talking about negotiating, because you're negotiating a little bit with different things, and where do you put your time and this and that, and who comes first, and where do I fit in? And most moms say, I fit in last. You know, I fit in last. But negotiating. So in your work, in things that you do, whether it's negotiating for a salary increase or a new position, or negotiating for something to be bought with the budget of your organization for your students, whatever it is, do you back away from negotiating, or do you step right up?
If I feel it's something that, you know, I guess looking at from a golf team perspective, if it's something that we absolutely need to have, and that's going to elevate, you know, our team, I fight for it. You do. And I do it in a way where I'm reasonable and can, you know, make that compromise in other areas, maybe that, you know, will help to get what we need. With my kids too, it's like you're almost in a negotiating stage sometimes with your kids. So it's like you're trying to find that, okay, well, you need to do this if you want to do this, you know. It's kind of that stage. So I think I fight for things that I really feel are needed and necessary. Yeah.
I'm the same. If my team has been asking for something and I can see the value in it for them, I will fight tooth and nail to get what I need.
And the thing that I will say, and I heard both of them say it, is for me, I have no problem negotiating, demanding, if I know that it benefits other people. When it comes to myself, I am very, very uncomfortable. I know I'm good at my job. I know my worth. But if it's like, if I'm asking for a raise for my assistant, 100% I'll ask for like $1 million and be like, she's worth it. I cannot lose her. I need her, and I will take a pay cut. I mean, like, I will take a pay cut myself. I need her. I will go to bat. For when it comes to myself, I'm like, well, I won't even bring it up. And it happened with the whole job interview process. When I got the offer, they're like, all right, well, you know, come in for a negotiation, and, you know, here's what we're offering you. That's our starting point. What's your response? And I was like, okay. He's like, all right, I'm going to help you out here. That's our starting point. And I was uncomfortable. And it's a weird thing, because I'm confident in myself, but it doesn't come naturally to me to do that. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. And that's what when I heard both of you say, like, when it means something to my team, I'll go. If my team wants it, I'll go. But if it's something for me, it's like, well, it's not that necessary, or I don't want the confrontation for it, or it can be used somewhere else. I think as women, that's probably a trait that we just, it doesn't, I don't know, like you said, kind of comes last. So everyone else is first, and we'll go to bat for you.
Right. The statistics show that the men have no problem. They're more singular solo. They have no problem asking and demanding for what they want as a general rule, not every guy. And women are the ones that will not step up to the plate, negotiate for themselves. They will stew about it, but they usually will come in and they'll accept the lowest rung and not expecting their worth or not asking for it. And there's a way for demanding it that's outrageous,
Right.
but asking for it. And that's just something that women in leadership that I've been involved with are trying to kind of highlight, and they're even starting this with education, higher education, trying to highlight, saying you can step up and you can ask for it, and there's a way to negotiate so they get what they want, you get what you want, and you don't have to feel guilty for it. And I think that's the number one thing, is you feel guilty, like maybe I don't deserve it because I'm used to taking the entry-level pay and I'll be quiet and not, I just want to get along and I don't want to ruffle feathers. And I think that's the natural go-to for a lot of women.
Men are very straightforward typically. Yes. So to me, you go to the negotiating table and they say, all right, here's a starting offer. And you say, okay, they're like, okay. Like if you wanted more money, you would have just told me. Because they're very straightforward. So I don't necessarily think that it's malintent on the other side's part where we want to keep women at the bottom. I think a lot of times it is a male communication style versus a female communication style.
I just think that women just need to find a way so they can live with the way they ask for it, because I think that's really what we go and obsess about. Did I say the wrong thing? And I mean, as crazy as it is, but if we want to get a seat at the table and we want equal pay for a job that is literally the same thing, not just a wish list and you're holding me down, because that's not what we're about, then we need to get comfortable negotiating in a fair way and standing up for ourselves, again, in a fair way where it's deserved. I really think that I hope that we all teach our daughters and teach ourselves how to. I've gotten much better at negotiating, but you know, it's, for some reason, it's really hard for us to like push me to take that first step.
I think, like you said, we're social creatures, and I think our natural inclination is, I want other people to like me, and that has always been one of my biggest weaknesses, is I care too much about whether people think of me. I can't control that, and I want people to like me. And sometimes those things don't work with an agenda, because you cannot please everybody.
There are statistics that show that women want to be liked more than they want to raise. But did you know that almost all of the women in the C-suite are respected and got there, and they're not necessarily liked, but they're effective, and you can't have both. That doesn't mean you have to be unpopular at work, but there's some crazy statistics out there that show you can't have both, and if you're going to stay in the friend zone, you're going to stay away from the end zone. You're not going to get what you want. You can be nice and diplomatic and be fair, and people can like you. But if that's your first go-to is, I want to be liked, okay, then keep baking the cookies and bringing them in on Monday morning, because that's all you're going to be seen as. The other thing is, you need to dress the part. If you want it, you've heard that, right? You need to dress the part, and I think that's something that is different. The lines are blurred now, because I came from the tech industry where, you know what, you started off in suits trying to look like men, and then all of a sudden the tech industry, well, if you're not walking in the latest, greatest ripped jeans and a hoodie, then you don't fit in. And then now it's kind of waffling back in other areas depending on what field you're in. You can relate to this, right? So, but you need to dress the part or they won't see you that way. So stop bringing in cookies and stop dressing the part of, you know, what you don't want to be, and start dressing the part of what you do want to be. So I don't, do you all relate to?
It used to be important to me to be liked, and I still obviously want that.
We all like you.
Right. Oh my gosh. Thanks. But what I have started to value more is being respected. That if the question were posed to people I work with, you know, what do you think about Jill? I think the response would be, Jill gets things done. And you know what? When something's on fire, I'm the first person they call. And they might have disagreed with me 2 days ago. They might have hated me 2 days ago, but you know what? When that caught on fire, I was still the first call, because regardless of whether they like me or not, they knew that I was going to put it out quicker than other people.
There you go.
But it was hard. It was a very hard lesson, and I still get caught in it. I still do. I mean, just the other day, just yesterday, I got an email from an attorney that bothered me. And it was because there was insinuations there that I had done something wrong. And I knew I'm a righteous person. It's one of my other weaknesses, that I was like, I can't believe this person thinks I did wrong. And my husband is like, they are just pissed that you did not rule in their favor. You need to let it go. You need to let it go.
He's right.
And right. But that was my initial reaction. I knew it was right. And you know what? Today I woke up and I was like, I'm okay with it, because I'm okay with what happened. But my initial gut, it's still a constant battle. It is like, it is a work. It's not a natural thought process. It's constantly having to remind that voice in my head. It's not natural.
So what would you tell a young gal starting off in the work world? What would you tell her about standing up for herself, not in a combative way, because that's not what we're talking about, but standing up for herself and asking for what she wants, going after for what she wants, and not worrying, like mulling over and holding on to a side comment that you heard and letting it just rule your world. 100 good things, you know, us girls will remember the one bad thing and we'll hang on to it, right? So how do you tell someone, look, don't walk down that path, because you're going to waste so much time and energy on nonsense. Where a guy, it seems like they could just, who cares? I forgot about it. It was 2 minutes ago.
There was a lady not too long ago that she was having a meeting with us, and she said, there are two groups of people in your mind. One is your biggest fan club, and you need to listen to them. And the other is your itty bitty shitty committee, and you need to ignore them. And she was so right. Like, you just have to shut that off, not even listen to it.
Okay, good advice. Anyone else?
I would tell them that it's hard. I would say it is hard. And to the extent that you see women like us talking and saying like, hey, yeah, let it go. Let it roll off your shoulder. Don't care about being liked. Know that even the people that are the best at it, if I gave them truth serum, I bet that they would admit that their initial gut reaction is that. But they have just had years and years and years of practicing and teaching yourself. The more you become comfortable and competent at your job, the easier it's going to be. When I first started, it was very difficult to stand up to some attorneys, especially attorneys that had been practicing longer than I was alive, and treated me like, oh, hey, little girl, you know, you're really going to tell me what to do. And frankly, I was intimidated because I didn't know. They knew more than I might have been up there wearing the robe, but they knew more than I did. And I was not in a negotiating power, because I think in order to negotiate, you need to be competent. You have to have that ability and confidence in yourself. And as I've gotten to that place, it has become easier, because I'm like, no, you know, I know what I'm talking about, or if I don't, I'm going to admit I don't and figure it out. But you have to get there, and you're not going to hit the ground running.
I love what you said there. It's okay to admit that you don't know it. I think I found that, and I have the same situation. How do I, even though I feel like I'm advancing in my career, how do I stack up next to the man in my industry that is twice my age, who obviously knows so much more, I think, than I do, right? And so at some points I just say, listen, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to find it out, and I'm going to get back to you on this. And I will come back with the answer, admitting that, letting them know that it's okay. None of us have all of the answers.
But they didn't have the answer either. I mean, everybody started off, you know, graduating from wherever they graduated, high school, 8th grade, college, whatever it was. Everybody was green at some point. Everybody had to be the newbie in the room that was like, okay, I have no clue what's going on, but I'll figure it out. So this leads me to my last topic, is confidence. How do you build self-confidence? Where do you get your confidence from?
I think it comes with knowledge, and not just believing you have the knowledge, but actually having the knowledge. And so it kind of goes back to what I just said. And if I don't have the answer, go look it up. Do the research and make sure before you speak you do have the right information. I just have found that throughout my career, and especially in the last couple of years, my confidence has grown because my knowledge has grown.
Right.
I feel more comfortable.
Right. How about you?
Experience. The more situations you see, the more situations you put yourself in, the easier it gets.
So you think it's more important to put yourself out there as much as you can, try new things?
Put yourself in situations that make yourself uncomfortable. If you don't like public speaking, then find a way to do it.
Go do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And one person, and I wouldn't really consider her necessarily my mentor, but I worked for her, and she was the CEO of the company I worked for. And she headed up a women's golf association. And here she is, a female executive leader in a very male-dominated industry, and going with her to meetings where she was meeting with the CEO of the PGA of America and the president of the USGA. And so being with her and seeing her presence and her confidence when she was in that environment, and I think that gave me a great visual when I was, a little bit younger to say, hey, women can lead really well in this industry. It's just that confidence is knowing that you're worth it, you're valuable, and you have something to bring to the table. Right. And I think that's a very big point, is knowing your value. And even what we were saying for the young women who are just either coming out of college, you are valuable. You have the knowledge. You may not have the experience yet, but you have the knowledge, and you have something to bring to the table, and respect that of yourself.
Right.
So
yeah, it's true.
For me, confidence comes from doing that thing that scares you until it doesn't scare you anymore. Many times I'd walk into a board meeting and I'd be the only female at the table. And at first that was really scary. And I was like, this is horrible. And I wouldn't say anything. Yeah, why am I here right now? I want my scarf over my face. But as time goes on, you get more comfortable if you just keep going and don't let it bother you as much every time, and eventually get over the hump and it becomes natural.
one of the things I worry about a little bit is, well, obviously as women we worry about a lot, but now that I have these young girls in my life and my 10-year-old daughter and the social media and things like that, and I see her, oh, I got so many likes on this or so many likes on that, and it's like, okay, how are we going to curve this generation to not worry about how many likes we have here or how many friends we have here, and realize that just you being you is a valuable thing.
In order to curb that, I think a huge part is who you surround yourself with. And for me, having supportive people in my life that frankly believe in me more than I even believe in myself, it makes a big difference. And I think sometimes as women, we're so hell-bent on proving ourselves that we can do it alone. And I hear all the time from, you know, these strong women, I don't need a man. I was like, yeah, neither do I, but I want one. I mean, like, you know, but like, and honestly, like my husband is the best thing in the world for me, because I would not be able to be the mom that I am. I would not be able to be the employee that I am without him, because he is my partner. And whenever I am doubting myself, he's like, hey, Jill, listen, you can't do that. Same with my parents. I mean, my parents are my biggest fans. It's okay to admit that you need other people. Maybe not need them, but that you want those other people. Right. You don't have to be on this island because it's lonely. Who do you share your successes with then? Who do you share your failures with? I mean, as social creatures, we want to surround ourselves with people, and I think that's okay.
It's not about being good, it's about being there. Like talking the ways of golf, people say, well, I'm not good enough to play golf. It's not about being good, it's about being there.
No one makes a bigger mistake than he who did nothing because he could do so little. That is pretty much how I go into every single work day, because it can be very overwhelmed to feel like what you're doing isn't enough. You're not making enough of an impact. You're not, your project isn't big enough. Is what I'm doing really mattering? I'm just a cog in a wheel, and you get that kind of negative talk, and you can't do that, because any progress is progress.
Well, thank you, ladies, for sharing your wisdom with me. And hopefully we'll catch up this time next year, and we'll see what you're up to in your professional and your personal lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.